'Twas the Raw before TLC, and you already know that this was a terrible go-home show. It started with Miz and a bad Christmas rhyme, which wasn't worth 10 minutes of TV time. John Morrison with him in Mel Gibson's hair, and the phenomenal AJ Styles soon would be there. Then Sheamus was hung upside down by his feet, so almost an AJ could chair shot his meat. The Hurt Business winning the six-man just proves that Vince builds a title match by having champs lose. Then there was Lana versus Nia Jax. I'd rather pop my eyeballs out with Mick Foley's thumbtacks. I didn't even care about the post-match attack and them trying to give Lana boobs on her back. Elias, surrounded by digital faces, would debut his new partner, the Trump-loving racist. But perhaps the worst thing of all we'd have to see, The Miz and John Morrison defeated Keith Lee. Poop hammers for all because nothing felt right. Hey yo, what's up gang? The hammer comes down tonight, right here, right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review, only on Sledgehammer TV. Let's do it.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
And that, Mr. Mike the Miz and AJ Styles and John Braveheart Mel Gibson Morrison, is how you do a Christmas rhyme. Thank you everybody for joining us here on the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show today. Monday Night Raw and their go-home shows, man, they are always just so god-awful that it just makes you cringe right deep down to the bone. They don't place any importance on anything. They see champions be pinned to the mat, and they see a lot of ridiculous things go on, which we did see tonight. Let me get rid of my talented Christmas poem. You see, that's just a little something I farted out while I was trying to pay attention to this piece of shit show that wanted to give us an ascension ceremony to end this night. An ascension ceremony? I thought Connor and Victor were going to show back up. We got the ascension coming back to Monday Night Raw, you guys. Let's have a whole ceremony. But my God, how boring and how lame is that, an ascension ceremony? They hung the belt up tonight, lifted it up over the ring on that stupid little golden bar thing that they have, and you want me to believe that that belt is going to be hanging in the Tropicana Thunderdome all fucking week long? I don't think so. Let me tell you something. Major points to the WWE if the WWE Championship is above the ring throughout the entirety of Friday Night SmackDown. I'll give them points if they actually have it up there to make it seem like the Ascension ceremony was worth something. Because if it's not, then what the hell is the point? We're going to put this belt all the way up in the air so that we can get the money shot of AJ Styles climbing the ladder at the end after he dispatches Drew McIntyre and holding the belt, and they didn't even show it on TV. They ran too far over and they didn't even get to the money shot, so all of it really was for nothing. How bad is this show? Well, let's start off with the true Nightmare Before TLC, which was Monday Night Raw. Everything that about the show was the real Nightmare Before TLC, but they wanted to do this Miz TV / Dirt Sheet segment where they were going to read this Christmas poem supposedly written by AJ Styles, a parody of The Night Before Christmas, and I gave you mine, and it was infinitely better because this ridiculous story that came complete with a storybook and a picture of AJ Styles on the front was just cringe. This was 10 minutes of cringe-inducing garbage. And that's what you get when you get the Miz TV segments nowadays. Or pretty much always. It's just really, really bad TV. And all of this only existed not just to try to further the storyline narrative of AJ versus Drew McIntyre, as they had this really stupid play fight, AJ Styles playing himself, John Morrison, as we mentioned, dressed up as Braveheart. He's got the whole kilt thing and the sash over his shoulder, and he's got real stupid Mel Gibson wig on. trying to do a Scottish accent but not really pulling it off. And they had this fake fight, and they're swinging swords around like they're playing Star Wars. And just like, what am I watching here? And all the while, The Miz is narrating this book, and I'm trying to keep my dinner down from coming up through my throat because it was nauseating. It was boring, and it was stupid. And the secondary purpose that this whole thing served was to push the match that AJ Styles was having with Sheamus tonight, which was the first match to open the show. AJ Styles should not be having this match. He is 6 nights away from a TLC championship matchup. He's going to go one-on-one with the rough, tough Sheamus McShamey. I don't know where I came up with that nickname, but man, I don't get it. I don't get it. Why would he even agree to this match? And if you're going to do this, at least give it some stakes. Give it some meaning. I know we can't have a title implication of some sort, but there are ways around it. You could have had this match decide whether or not Almost is at ringside. You know, if AJ Styles loses to Sheamus tonight, Almost will not be able to make it to TLC. He'll almost make it, but he's not going to make it. Why not? Or you even throw the caveat in, if AJ Styles doesn't defeat Sheamus tonight and Sheamus gets the win, AJ will be removed from the match, and by the end of the evening, we will have a new #1 contender. Tease it. You don't have to do it. But at the very least, it makes this match with Sheamus mean something, so that when it goes 15 minutes and AJ Styles is fighting his heart out against a guy 2 times his size and 3 times his strength, it makes sense for him to have this kind of a sense of urgency to win the matchup. Otherwise, there was no need for this. Because this match ends, AJ Styles wins with a roll-up, WWE's favorite booking to finish up a match. Almost didn't get too involved in the matchup between them. But at the end of the match, we had a post-match beatdown on Sheamus, where Almost hung Sheamus upside down by the second rope. He tangled his foot between the top and second rope and had him dangling on the outside of the ring, upside down. We don't really see things like this. And I was like, what the hell is about to happen here? And then AJ Styles would get a chair and continuously work the midsection of Sheamus. The only problem being is that the shots were going a little bit too high above the midsection, and he was hitting Sheamus repeatedly in the dick with a steel chair. I don't think Sheamus is going to be able to have kids after tonight. And while it did build up some drama, build up some tension, we're sitting there as fans going, all right, well, here's where Drew's going to come out and save his boy Shamey. But that didn't happen. Drew McIntyre stayed in the back. Obviously, their friendship don't mean shit anymore. Or doesn't mean enough to him to get involved and stop him from being castrated by AJ Styles in a chair. This is the first match of the evening. At least AJ gets the win, building up some needed momentum going in against the champion this Sunday at TLC. But that's the only good thing I could say about it. This was followed up by the weekly necessities, all of the mandatory things that WWE needs to have on every single Monday night especially, but this sometimes transpires across both shows. Well, here we have the weekly Let's Make Matt Riddle Look Like a Jackass segment, multiple ones at that, where we're talking about Bro Nuts, his organically homemade donuts. This guy looks fit as a fiddle. It look like he's pounding down dozens of fucking donuts? No, it does not. And I understand maybe they're trying to say he's so high off his ass, he's always got the munchies, so he makes his own Bro Nuts, but the guy looks like a jackass. Talking about having a Firefly Funhouse segment where he can introduce pronouns to all of the little fireflies. He thinks it'll be a great segment for Bray. I hate what they're doing with Matt Riddle. This also included the weekly Hurt Business abuses a crew member. Now, they only abused him because of Matt Riddle. He was wearing a bro hat and he was eating a bro nut, I assume. And so because of this, they poured milk over this guy's head. What are we, in 5th grade? You got Bobby Lashley, the United States champion, could have taken this little ragamuffin of a crewman and just tossed him into a garbage bin or something like that. But no, they had a gallon of milk, or a half gallon of milk, and they poured it over his head like we're all in grammar school. I hope you can get a refund on your milk, buddy. And maybe bring back your hat, because it's covered in fucking milk now and it's going to smell like sour ass tomorrow. We also had the weekly New Day Hurt Business shenanigans. It always has to happen in one way or another, but this also came with the caveat of the mandatory 6-man tag team match that needs to absolutely be featured on every single show, or else somebody's not doing their job. And here we have the Hurt Business once again defeating the New Day in a 6-man tag where they were teamed up with Jeff Hardy, because Jeff Hardy and Bobby Lashley had like a thing last week, and also were managed by Matt Riddle for this one segment, who said he was going to substitute for Big E, and he called himself Bro E, referencing the fact that he's going to be with the New Day, only to end up being with Jeff Hardy on the entrance, coming out as this Hardy Bros thing they're trying to get over, because, you know, he says the word bro, and his name is Matt, so why can't they be the new Hardy Boys? But we'll just call them bros instead. How asinine is all of this shit? How asinine is it? MVP on the outside for the Hurt Business, Matt Riddle on the outside for this ragtag New Day Jeff Hardy team, and the champions lose. Now, the champs didn't get pinned. Jeff Hardy was the one that tapped out to the Hurt Lock, but they were still on the losing side of things. They have done nothing pretty much but lose to the Hurt Business since their initial win against the Hurt Business, so the champs continue to be made to look like chumps, and we have no reason to believe that the Hurt Business will be victorious. Because, I mean, that the Hurt Business won't be victorious, because why else would they go through all this? They got their number on every occasion, but when it comes down to the championship match, we're going to keep it on the New Day so that we can go back around this merry-go-round again, because there's no other fucking tag teams for them to fight anyway, so what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to go crazy watching this shit. That's what we're going to do, and all we can do is say...
Thanks, Vince. Oh.
I can't. That's the noise that I make while I watch this entire show. I just, segment after segment. And there is no better way to prove that than the next thing that would come down the line to us from Monday Night Raw. Lana versus Nia Jax, which was a terrible matchup. And the fact that these two girls are in the ring wrestling in a singles match, and Vince McMahon thinks that Keith Lee needs to go back and train is a goddamn travesty. It's a goddamn travesty. We'll get back into Keith Lee in just a moment. But here we see Lana defeating Nia Jax, getting her comeuppance for all of those table spots, for all of the stupid shit we've had to watch over the course of the last 3 months go down between these two. This is the blow-off. Lana beats Nia Jax in about 2 minutes. Now, not that I like to give Nia Jax any credit, but you have to understand something. This is a current Women's Tag Team Champion. She's a former WWE Raw Women's Champion, and she's being beaten by Lana in under 2 minutes. Now, yeah, it might have been a fluke. She caught her in a roll-up, which actually, shouldn't the referee have stopped that count? Because Nia Jax's body was up against the ropes, was it not? Was her body not physically touching the turnbuckles and the rope? Doesn't that constitute a break in the count? Lana executes the laziest, ugliest roll-up I've ever seen. The best part about this match was Rusev's comment. If you follow Rusev on Twitter, he said that he taught Lana how to do that roll-up, and they both won. They both won, because obviously Rusev had his face deep into his wife's goosh. But, you know, that's their business. I thought it was funny. So I had to bring it up to you guys because that's my favorite part about this whole thing with Lana. I didn't even care about the post-match beatdown like we said in the rhyme at the beginning of the show. Lana gets her ass beat. Shayna Baszler comes out to assist. They end up squashing her leg, breaking her leg apparently, to the point where she's now being taken out of this Sunday's Tag Team Championship matchup, and Asuka now does not have a partner. And as we're talking about Asuka, let's not leave out the fact that Asuka was in the back watching the television, watching this match, because she was pulling for Lana. She was getting Lana. She was building her up. It's like, Lana, you're going to do this. Have confidence in yourself. And, you know, she's sitting there watching her girl go out to do her thing, and she's rooting for Lana. And she's watching everything go down. Yet she waited until after they broke her leg to go out there and make the save. What? Talk about stupid. Oh my God. Oh my God. Even more stupid, Elias. Elias returns to Monday Night Raw for the first time since being electrocuted. He claims he was baptized by lightning, and it made him crazy enough to go get a crazy redneck racist mofo who pissed off the locker room and pissed off social media and stopped the push of the Forgotten Sons dead in their tracks, but with his stupidity that he spewed out on social media in support of Donald Trump and everything that was going on in the time. And here he is, saddled on to Elias. This guy, and the only good thing about this is I love when all of these bigger channels than me do all this reporting and then have fucking egg on their face. Because how many channels and how many videos have you seen saying, oh, Jackson Riker being set to be released? All because maybe Meltzer thought it might be a possibility, and then everybody reports it as fact, and now here we are with Jackson Riker on Monday Night Raw, and that's why I don't do that type of reporting. Just saying. I get a little bit of enjoyment out of that, seeing them have to eat a little bit of crow. Because, you know, they don't give a shit about me, so why should I give a shit about anybody else, right? So it makes me happy to see that happen sometimes. Outside of that, the fact that Elias's debut with Jackson Riker on Monday Night Raw was coupled with a 24/7, hey, look at me, I'm a clown and I'm still wearing this avocado-colored gold-plated belt around my waist. How serious can we take it? What does it mean for Elias? He's been dead since he's come back. This guy made his big comeback, had a rivalry with Jeff Hardy where he maybe won one match out of what, 7 or 8 or 9, or any time we've seen Elias, he was losing to Jeff Hardy. They didn't even make sense of that whole angle. Why was he still pissed off when he knew for a fact Jeff Hardy was cleared of the charges, but yet he still pursued? It made no sense. There's no finality to any of it. But here he is today with a new partner, and we're going to just make a joke out of everything. You know, because...
That guy Vince, he's crazy.
There's no better word. He's crazy. Crazier than the Mighty Boosh. I fucking love that show. So like I told you guys last time, I just recently found the show. It's a new thing in my life. It's from years ago, and it's ripe for the picking with things to say about Vince McMahon because the character's name is Vince, and you're going to be seeing a lot of that popping up on the show because I think it's freaking hysterical. And I hope you do as well. You know what's not funny? What's not funny at all is having to watch a 2-on-1 handicap match where The Miz and John Braveheart Morrison are given the win over Keith Lee. What planet are we living in? I know we've been seeing all these reports and hearing all these stories about Vince McMahon being down on a lot of the big guys and Keith Lee being amongst one of the most notable names that he mentioned. And that's clear as day. If you watch Monday Night Raw tonight, Vince McMahon don't give a shit about Keith Lee right now. He has him losing to two of the most useless losers on Monday Night Raw. And for what reason? Who is that helping? Is that helping The Miz? He's not even involved with Keith Lee right now. He's trying to get the belt away from Drew McIntyre, and he's got something going on with AJ Styles, and he's all over the show, and now him and his little buddy are beating Keith Lee. Let me tell you something. Keith Lee, even in a handicap match with The Miz and Morrison, he's the one with the advantage. I know the numbers say that he's only one, but his one is equal to like 4 human males. And The Miz and John Morrison together barely make one competent pro wrestler. And these two guys get the pin over one of the best big men that has come along in this generation. A guy that they really could have sunk their teeth into and made a big force in this company. They brought him right in, shoved him into the main event, and then kicked him right into the dumpster. Now they're kicking his ass back to the performance center, saying he needs more seasoning. He needs to be retrained. And as a thank you for his compliance, for him doing what he needs to do for the company. They put him on Raw following his appearance on Main Event and have him lose to two jackasses that he could have ate for breakfast with one hand? Ridiculous. The ridiculousness continues with Bray Wyatt's Firefly field trip. All right, what about this was a field trip? Where was the field trip aspect? Because they weren't on set at the Firefly Funhouse and he actually had the puppets with him. The puppets pop up in the background of Monday Night Raw every week. So what makes this special? This wasn't a field trip. This was a Firefly Funhouse comedy special. Because Bray Wyatt wanted to come out and tell a bunch of really lame dad jokes about snakes. It's like, what does a snake use to clean his windshields? Windshield vipers. Ha 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 ha. There was a couple of other really corny ones. They were not worth remembering. That one that I, for some reason, remember isn't worth remembering either. But they were not, it was not funny. Obviously, he was getting a kick out of it. All the puppets that were around ringside were getting a kick at it. But the best thing that has happened to the Firefly Funhouse in the last couple of months has been the addition of Alexa Bliss. And for now, the second week in a row, there is no Alexa Bliss playing out in this storyline. If he's taken the whole Funhouse out on a field trip, where's his newest bestest friend? It makes no sense that she's not there. There's no explanation behind it. But this whole thing turns into Randy Orton coming out, telling Bray Wyatt, you want to play games? Let's play some games. How about a little hide and seek? He challenges Bray Wyatt to a game of hide and seek. Once again, like we're back on the playgrounds in fucking grammar school, we're playing hide and seek. Two of the most despicable human beings we've ever known in the WWE, they're going to play hide and seek. Let's play children's games. Okay, so Bray Wyatt being, a little bit childish in his persona as Mr. Rogers, Bray Wyatt, he thinks this is a great idea and he wants to play games and he wants to have fun. He's going to have this whole, I'm going to play hide and seek with Randy Orton. And so that begins. And that would continue throughout the rest of the show. After that Firefly Funhouse segment, which wasn't really all that good, it was kind of corny and I didn't really care too much for it. We had Mush from Craptribution, our least favorite thing on Monday Night Raw outside of the women's division. They're still trying to get Ricochet to join their squad. So in order to do that, they're going to continue to beat the snot out of him. This is Mustafa Ali's diction, or mantra, rather, that, this is going to continue to happening to you, Ricochet. If continue to happening, that was terrible English. I just heard myself. This is going to keep happening to you, Ricochet, until you join Retribution. Which begs the question, why would they fucking want somebody that doesn't want to be with them? What is the purpose here? It doesn't make sense. It's bad enough that I gotta see Teabag and Slapnuts with his paper plate garbage mask out there at ringside being Retribution, existing at all. It's bad enough that they exist at all. But now the best thing you got for them is a pursuit of a guy that hasn't won a match on Raw in maybe like 6 months, or if he has one, what is his record on Raw this year? Do you even know? Not that it matters, but it's definitely in the negative. He's definitely lost more times than he's won. For some reason, Mustafa Ali, he wants Ricochet. He needs another loser to complete his collection of losers, and maybe now he'll have a whole set. Fucking ridiculous. Now, during this hide-and-seek segment, which continued in between the remainder of the show's matches and stuff, Bray Wyatt ran into Matt Riddle, where he talked about the pronouns and pitched his segment. He also ran into R-Truth, which was one of the more enjoyable segments that Bray Wyatt put forth tonight, and that is because R-Truth is fucking insane, and he is amazing, and he's funny as hell. And he actually got me to laugh tonight. He was talking to the puppet in the back. Bray Wyatt showed up. He was worried about Huskus the pig boy, was talking to R-Truth in the back. R-Truth thought the pig boy was Bray Wyatt's son, and then Bray Wyatt left, and he was like, what a nice family. R-Truth is gold. It sucks that they saddled him in the 24/7 thing, but the way they treat R-Truth, That is my fear going forward for Matt Riddle. Because once you're a joke and you're a comedy jackass for Vince, you're always a joke and a comedy jackass for Vince. And it runs very, very possible that he will not be taken seriously ever again. Just like I couldn't take seriously anything that happened in the Dana Brooke versus Shayna Baszler match. Now, I already told you guys that it pains me to say that we live in a world where Lana has defeated Shayna Baszler when you look into the record books. And now they have made it even worse because tonight, even though it was due to disqualification in a match that barely even got started, Dana Brooke defeated one half of the tag team champions in the women's division. Shayna Baszler loses to Dana Brooke. This is because Nia Jax shoved her off the top rope. Then shenanigans would ensue. Post-match beatdown on Brooke by both girls, Shayna and Nia, which would bring out a returning Mandy Rose. So now you would think, oh, well, maybe they got all their ducks in a row and they're going to have Mandy and Dana substitute out since, Asuka's the women's champion. She shouldn't be involved in this angle at all. There should be nothing going on with Asuka and any of these women. She should be in a feud alone versus somebody like Shayna Baszler one-on-one for the major championship, not this ridiculous women's tag team championship, which for some reason stopped floating between shows. If you guys haven't noticed, I don't know when that became a thing, but I guess they're exclusive to Monday Night Raw. And now that that's a thing, we're going to have to suffer with Raw booking, which means that, as of right now, Asuka is just partnerless for Sunday's show in her match against the champs. I thought initially, since Mandy was out, before she returned, that Dana Brooke was going to be inserted into the Lana position, subbing out one useless blonde for another, which wouldn't really change anything all that much. But then Mandy came out and kind of put a wrench in all that, because why would they put them together as a tag team and then only have one of them team up with Asuka? Like, that wouldn't make much sense at all, which is probably why that's exactly what they're going to do. Don't be surprised if sometime before Sunday we hear that Mandy Rose or Dana Brooke is going to team up with Asuka and the other one will be on the outside or something, acting as a manager for some reason, instead of taking Asuka out of it completely now that Lana's out of the equation and moving forward. The conclusion of Hide and Seek was maybe the only thing on this show that I thought was mildly okay, because at least they gave it a little effort. There was a callback to Randy and Bray's previous war, which was not that great, but during Bray Wyatt's hunt for the Viper, he would open a door which would reveal a dark room that only contained the old Bray Wyatt's rocking chair. Thought this was creepy. It made you feel like you were, back in that other feud for a minute. Like, we're in the future, but for that callback, it just brought you in just a little bit more. You kind of knew what was going to happen. You knew somewhere the Viper was going to strike out of nowhere, being that the chair was surrounded by darkness. But this whole thing took a whole nother turn when Randy Orton would give us another callback to that initial feud by putting Bray Wyatt in a box, not a coffin, a box, and setting that box on fire. While the box was ablaze, the lid would come flying off while it was on fire to reveal now that Bray Wyatt was indeed the Fiend, who would then wrap the mandible claw into the jaws of the Viper and incapacitate him in the back. And that was the last we seen of the Firefly Funhouse, or Bray or Randy leading or bringing their feud along in a decent way. I thought this was with all the stupidness that they front-loaded it with, they ended it kind of nicely. There are still tons of problems with this. Like, the Fiend being the babyface, it's just mind-boggling to me. I get them, banking on the fact that, everybody loves a cool bad guy and Bray's got a cool look, but Randy Orton is the quintessential villain. He is the most evil person in the WWE. The Fiend is supposed to be this psychotic, Joker-esque, maniacal, just ridiculously evil person, but now we're supposed to be cheering for him because he's got a girlfriend? in Alexa Bliss. I don't know, love conquers all type of shit. I don't know. I don't know why they do some things. Just like I don't know why they had even bothered having this Matt Riddle versus MVP match. It didn't even go 1 minute. It was like one match. Matt Riddle came into the ring. He kicked off his little flip-flops. The pyro went off. MVP came out. He got hit with the floating bro. And then he pinned him. That was it. 1, 2, 3. MVP, multiple-time former Intercontinental Champion, accolades, leader of the Hurt Business, and now he's being beaten in a minute by Matt Riddle. What does that really do for Matt Riddle? Well, it gave him an opportunity to eat some more fucking donuts as he was celebrating. After his match, he goes right back to the box, starts chowing down on some more donuts. Because that's normal. That's what a normal, healthy, bodybuilding, muscle-bound person would do. We're going to come to the match eating donuts, and we're going to leave the match eating donuts. Because we're so high, we're crazy. Ah! And then the Ascension ceremony. Drew McIntyre was shown going to the ring wearing a shirt. And then he came out not wearing a shirt. I thought maybe that was a bad call. Not that he doesn't have a decent-looking physique. It's just, this is a ceremony. You're not going out there to wrestle. You could have at least stayed dressed. But that's a little bit nitpicking of me. The real problem came when the segment began and AJ Styles gave this really strange kind of promo where he was picking on Drew McIntyre for losing at Hell in a Cell. He picked on Drew McIntyre for it taking him 19 years to get to where he's at. But if I'm not mistaken, didn't it take AJ Styles almost just as long to get to the WWE Championship? It might not have been 19 years, but maybe, like 16, 15. It just felt weird. Like maybe coming from a guy like Randy or Brock or something, that punch stings. But coming from a guy that spent 3/4 of his career in other wrestling organizations and only not until 2016 when he showed up, started winning championships, like that's a weird insult to me. But, they don't have brain power in the back. We're talking about Vince and Bruce. They can't put together 25 cents if they had 2 dimes and a nickel between them. That's how fucking crazy these guys are. This was made even worse by Drew McIntyre's responses to AJ Styles, which was like, hey, listen, I always wanted to have a match with you, but it's going to be a TLC match. I've never had that match. He's never been in a TLC. He's never been in a match with AJ, so AJ thinks he has the advantage. But McIntyre said he's the champion that led the WWE through uncharted waters this year, which is kind of true, but he also, had it taken away from him and then give it back to him for some unknown reason to us. And then he would say a direct quote from Braveheart, and this is where guys like Vince and Bruce just need to go. They're stuck fucking trapped in the 90s when Braveheart was a relevant thing. Just because he's Scottish doesn't make him fucking William Wallace, and he doesn't have to be standing in the middle of a wrestling ring in the year 2020 saying, every man dies, not every man really lives. 99.9% of the audience that is younger than me probably has no fucking idea what he's even saying or that that's even from a Mel Gibson movie. Academy Award winning, unforgettable performance by that nutbag before he became a psycho nutbag. I loved that movie. I loved Mel Gibson back then. And I love Mel Gibson now just about as much as I love WWE, which is not that much. It's almost about the same. When I was young, WWE was great. Mel was great. Now we're older, Mel's not so great. WWE, not so great. And one of the reasons I have to prove that to you is the fact that they're using Mel Gibson as a pop culture reference for their WWE champion. Never mind the giant-ass sword that's not really what they say. You know, that's the one problem with the internet being involved with wrestling and us knowing so much, is that we know that he got the sword from Triple H and Stephanie as a gift from the McMahon family. It was Vince McMahon's sword, and they gave it to him so that he could do this entrance thing, but they want to tell us that this is his grandfather's sword or his great uncle's sword or something. It's not William Wallace's sword. It's got no real lineage to it. At least not one that connects to Drew McIntyre. And it was all downhill from there. Next thing you know, the standard end of the show brawl begins. Drew McIntyre had the advantage for a while, but the problem here, once again, was the involvement of The Miz and John Morrison. I don't know what they're playing at and why they're helping out AJ Styles. If he's going to cash in the Money in the Bank on Drew McIntyre and then agree to fight AJ Styles, that's not something that's going to happen. I don't think. I mean, who would want to see that? AJ Styles versus The Miz? Nobody wants to see that. I'm interested in seeing AJ versus Drew. I'm wishing it wasn't a TLC match, because in their first match out against each other, they have to go all out and get a little crazy with things, where I would much rather see them just go at it traditional wrestling style, because both of these guys are fantastic within the ring. And this segment was, you know, it did what it had to do, this segment, because they ended it in the right way, which was AJ Styles getting the advantage, hitting him with a diving elbow drop off the ladder, through the table, phenomenal forearms, the whole nine. Miz and Morrison there, beating him up with everything that they can get their hands on. And that was it. That was the end of Monday Night Raw. And as I mentioned earlier, AJ, after finally clearing the field when the smoke all cleared away, set up the ladder, climbed up to the top of the ladder, released the championship from the ring, you know, the ring that it's hanging from, not the ring that they're all standing in. And that was over. The show went to commercial because they ran too long, and we didn't even get to see AJ Styles holding the championship as the show fades to black. It was just a bad show. It was a bad show. I don't think I said really anything redeeming. The hide and seek, as stupid as it was, it did end okay. But other than that, the rest of this show, from start to finish, was nothing more than a giant set of big steaming poop hammers. And I hate every single minute of it. And once again, just for good measure, we're going to have to say thank you.
Thanks, Vince. Oh.
Because it was absolutely terrible. Thank you guys so much for joining me here tonight on a very special Go Home Show Monday Night Raw review. If you had a great time here with me today, make sure you hit that subscribe button right now and join the army that has taken over the YouTube wrestling community one member at a time. The Sledgeheads of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show are my lifeblood, and without you guys, I have no reason to even be sitting here. And I need more people to feed me more power so that we can start taking over the world like Pinky and the Brain used to do. Talk about dated 90s references, right? No, they're back. If you haven't watched the Animaniacs reboot, go check it out. It's on Hulu. They're topical again, so I'm not as bad as Vince and Bruce and the rest of them. If you had a great time, smash that like button. Let me know that you had a good time. Let me know your favorite part of this show. Let me know if you liked my little Christmas rhyme, if you thought it was better than The Miz and everything that you had to see on Raw tonight, which it absolutely was. It didn't take me too long because I'm a talented individual and these things come naturally to me, and Vince McMahon wishes he had a guy like me on his roster. But I'm glad that I'm not, because I would hit him with gold like that and he would probably rip it up and have it rewritten 30 seconds before the segment was scheduled to go on the air. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the Team Thor, the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, his tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue, the Snowball, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. Don't forget to help out the show by liking, sharing, and most importantly, please consider subscribing right now. Don't forget to check out anything else you missed on the channel this week, which will be posted up in the annotations up above. That, my friends, is going to do it We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com.